If you're a Honda owner, you know that little check engine light can be a real source of stress. And if the code reader is showing P2770, you're probably wondering, uh-oh, what am I in for? Well, you're in exactly the right place. In this explainer, we're going to demystify that code and give you a super clear, logical path to getting it fixed. And here's the best part, we're starting with the simplest stuff first. So, that dreaded light pops on, you run the scan, and boom, there it is. P2770. I totally get it. Any code with the word transmission in it can seem, well, intimidating. But honestly, understanding what's behind it is the absolute key to solving it without wasting a bunch of time and money. So let's get right into what this code actually means. Okay, at its very core, P2770 means your car's main computer sees a problem with the torque converter clutch solenoid circuit. Now, the most important phrase here is circuit is open. The easiest way to think about this is like a light switch in your house. When a circuit is closed, electricity is flowing and the light turns on. Simple. When it's open, there's a break somewhere in the line and the power just can't get through. Our job? It's to play detective and find that break. And this, right here, this is our roadmap. There are basically 6 common causes for this code, and we've laid them out from the simplest and cheapest fixes all the way to the most complex. We're just going to work our way right down this list. And trust me, that's the key to not throwing money at parts you don't need. First up, the easiest check of all. So our very first stop is the powertrain control module, or what everyone calls the PCM. Seriously, before you even think about buying a single part, you have to check the connections right here. This is the brain of your car's engine and transmission, and you would be shocked at how often the entire problem is just a simple, silly, loose connection. The problem can be this simple: a poor connection or a loose terminal right at the PCM. It's really no different than a plug not being pushed all the way into the wall socket at home. You know, the power's there, the TV works, but that connection just isn't solid enough to actually do its job. All right, here's what you're going to do. First, find your car's PCM. Then you're going to carefully examine all the wiring and the connectors plugged into it. Are any of them loose? Do you see any of that nasty green or white crusty buildup? That's corrosion, and it's a connection killer. You'll want to clean all that off, maybe fix any obviously damaged wires, and then reconnect everything securely. Sometimes a firm push and a solid click is literally all it takes to fix this. Okay, so you've checked the PCM, everything is snug, it's clean, but the code is still there. Bummer. But don't worry. Our next logical step is to just inspect the path itself. We're talking about the wiring that runs all the way from the PCM over to the solenoid. So here, we're hunting for that open circuit we talked about a minute ago. This means there's a physical break in the wire somewhere along its journey. The computer sends the electrical signal, but it just never arrives at its destination. So what you'll want to do here is trace that wiring. You're looking for any visible signs of trouble. You know, wires that are frayed or pinched or maybe even chewed on by a rodent. It happens. Check all the connection points along the way, clean them if they need it, and replace any sections of wire that are clearly damaged. Okay, so the PCM connection is solid and the main wiring looks good. Now, we narrow our focus down to the destination, the solenoid itself, and its own little dedicated wiring harness. This is where that electrical signal actually does its job. Right. So if you've confirmed the main circuit is good, but the code still won't go away, the open is likely in the last few inches of the line, the solenoid harness itself. It's a small piece, but it's absolutely critical. And if that harness wiring also checks out, well, we've now eliminated all the external possibilities. By a simple process of elimination, that points us directly to the part itself, a faulty torque converter clutch solenoid. At this stage, it's pretty likely the component has just failed. Now, replacing the solenoid is a more involved repair for sure, but the steps themselves are pretty straightforward. You'll need to locate it on your transmission, get the old one out, and install the new part. This is really where we've moved from just checking connections to actually replacing components. But what if you've done all that? You've checked every wire, every single connection, you even replaced the solenoid, but that pesky P2770 code comes right back. It's frustrating, I know, but at this point, there are 2 final and less common possibilities that have nothing to do with the wiring at all. That's right. The issue could actually be with the software inside the PCM. Sometimes manufacturers will release updates to fix bugs or improve how the transmission performs. And if your car's software is out of date, it can mistakenly trigger this exact code. So this leaves us with our final two options. The first is a software update, which you'd get from a dealer or a qualified shop. But if that doesn't solve it, or if the PCM has an internal failure that just can't be fixed, the absolute last resort is to replace the PCM itself. This is the most complex and expensive fix, which is exactly why it's at the very, very end of our diagnostic list. And there you have it. That's the complete process. 6 potential causes, each with its own solution, all laid out in a perfectly logical order. From a simple loose wire to a software update, you now have a full diagnostic checklist to confidently figure out what's going on with Honda code P2770. So, it all comes down to this question, doesn't it? Could a quick 5-minute connection check save you from a $500 repair? By following this logical path, the answer is a resounding yes. Taking the time to just check a simple connection at the beginning could absolutely save you from buying parts you don't need and paying for repairs you could have easily avoided. Just remember to start simple, be thorough, and you will find the fix.